This crowd is so frustrating.
Patience, it will clear soon.
I can't wait. It's been too long.
Just a little longer.
Fine.
Take your hands off me.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You think your little notebook made me who I am? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I built myself. Nobody handed me anything. Those were the words Emeka Osei said to the woman who gave him everything. The woman who believed in him when the whole university laughed. This is her story. This is his shame. And this is the road they both had to walk before the truth finally set them free. The campus was alive with the kind of noise only September could make. Orientation week noise. The loud, nervous energy of thousands of young people pretending they were not afraid. In the middle of all that noise, a boy sat alone on a concrete bench near the Faculty of Social Sciences building. He had a worn backpack on his lap. Inside it were 2 shirts, 1 pair of trousers, a Bible, and a small notebook with a broken spine. That was everything he owned. His name was Emeka Osei. He was 19 years old. He was from Onitsha, Anambra State. His father sold spare parts in the main market. His mother made chin-chin and puff-puff and sold them from a tray she balanced on her head. Together they had scraped and borrowed and almost begged to pay Emeka's first semester fees. The money for accommodation had not come. So Emeka had no room. He sat on that bench and watched other students arrive with suitcases, with parents carrying mattresses and pots and portable gas cookers. He watched the girls in pretty dresses and the boys in new sneakers, and he felt something he had never quite felt before. Not poverty. He had known poverty all his life. Something worse. Invisible. Like he was a ghost that had not yet realized nobody could see him. He was studying economics. He had scored very high in JAM. Second in the whole of Anambra State that year. But scores do not buy food. And they do not buy accommodation. By evening, Emeka still had not eaten. He had 200 naira in his pocket. He was calculating. Akra was 30 naira for 3 pieces. He could eat twice today and twice tomorrow if he was careful. After that he did not know. It was getting dark when an old woman appeared. She was not a student, obviously. She was perhaps 65, maybe 70. Her gray hair was tied neatly in a small bun. She wore a plain blue dress and flat sandals. She carried a small cooler in one hand and a stool in the other. She walked without hurrying, like a woman who had been walking these paths for decades and knew every crack in the concrete. She set her stool down not far from Emeka's bench and opened her cooler. Inside were small portions of jollof rice in nylon bags tied neatly. She arranged them on a small tray with practiced hands. Then she looked up and noticed the boy. "You have been sitting there since this afternoon," she said. It was not a question. Emeka looked up. "Good evening, Ma." "Good evening. Have you eaten?" He hesitated. Pride made him want to say yes. Hunger made him pause too long. "Come," the woman said. She scooped a portion of rice into a bowl and handed it to him. "Eat first. Talk after." Emeka wanted to refuse. He truly did. But the smell of that rice, tomato, curry, onion, bay leaf, it was the smell of his mother's kitchen, and something in his chest broke a little. He took the bowl. He ate. When he finished, he felt human again. "Thank you, Ma," he said quietly. "How much?" "Nothing," she said. "You look like my grandson. He is your age. He is in Ibadan." Her name was Mama Bose. At least that was what everyone on the campus called her. Her real name was Bolanle Adesanya. She had been selling food on that campus for 31 years. She knew this university like she had built it herself. She knew the professors, the security men, the cleaners, the heads of department. She had fed 3 generations of students. Some of them were now judges, senators, professors themselves. They still called her Mama Bose when they came back for homecoming. She listened as Emeka explained his situation. No accommodation. No family in Lagos. No connections. Just his admission letter and his determination. "Hi son," Mama Bose said when he finished. "Do you know Brother Tund? The fellowship chairman in Block C hostel." "No, Ma. I will take you to him tonight. His roommate traveled home. You can sleep there until you sort yourself out. And tomorrow I will take you to the bursary. I know the woman there. She will tell you about the Indigent Student Fund. It is small, but it will help with your first semester." Emeka stared at her. This woman who did not know him, who owed him absolutely nothing, was offering to reorganize his life in one evening. "Why are you helping me, Ma?" he asked. Mama Bose smiled. It was the kind of smile that had lived through many seasons. "Because you remind me of someone," she said. "And because someone helped me once when I had nothing. A stranger fed me when I was stranded at a motor park 30 years ago. I never saw that woman again. But I promised God I would pay it forward. Every time I see someone who needs it." She stood and picked up her stool. "Come, let us go." That night Emeka slept on a borrowed mattress in Block C. The next morning Mama Bose took him to the bursary. The woman there, a stout, kind-faced lady named Mrs. Fashola, processed his indigent student application in one day instead of the usual 3 weeks. Because Mama Bose asked her to. Because Mama Bose had been feeding that department every Friday for 15 years. By the end of the week Emeka had a small monthly stipend from the indigent fund. It was not much. But it was something. He found a cheap room off campus that he shared with 3 other boys 45 minutes from school by Danfo. He started eating most of his meals at Mama Bose's spot. She never charged him the full price. Sometimes she did not charge him at all. He visited her every evening. At first to eat. Then slowly because he genuinely enjoyed her company. Mama Bose was not an educated woman in the formal sense. She had stopped at primary 6. But she was brilliant in ways that schoolbooks could not capture. She understood people. She understood the invisible threads that connected human beings to each other, to their choices, to their consequences. "Every action is a seed," she told him one evening as she packed up her cooler. "You plant it and it grows. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. But it always grows. Good seeds and bad seeds. Both grow. Remember that, my son." Emeka wrote it down in his broken spine notebook. He wrote down many things she said. He did not know why. It just felt like the kind of wisdom that should not be lost. By his second year Emeka had found his footing. He was a serious student. His economics professors noticed him. He asked sharp questions. He wrote papers that went beyond the syllabus. He was invited to join the Economic Students Association. Then he became its secretary. Then in his 3rd year its president. He also had a group of friends now. 4 boys who called themselves the Syndicate, a joke name that stuck. There was Chidi who was studying law. Babatunde who was in computer science. Felix who was studying mass communication. And Emeka. They studied together. They argued about Nigeria's future until 2 in the morning. They were going to change the world, they said. All of them. Together. But it was Emeka who had the ideas. Specific, sharp, original ideas. And the other boys knew it. Where did the ideas come from? Partly from his own restless mind. But partly, significantly, from his evenings with Mama Bose. She had watched that university for 31 years. She had seen what worked and what did not. She had watched student unions rise and collapse. She had watched brilliant students lose themselves in distraction and mediocre students succeed through strategy. She had watched administrations make the same mistakes decade after decade. He talked. Every evening she talked. She shared observations and stories and questions. And Emeka listened. And wrote. His notebook was full of her insights, reframed in his own language, shaped into arguments and proposals. When he proposed a peer mentorship initiative for freshers during his time as association president, an initiative that would later be adopted as official university policy, the core idea came from something Mama Bose said. The first week is when students decide whether they belong here or not. If someone tells them they belong, most of them will believe it. If nobody tells them, some will leave by December. When he wrote his award-winning paper on informal economies within university environments, a paper that won a national undergraduate research prize in his final year, the central thesis was built on years of listening to Mama Bose describe how the microeconomy of campus food vendors, laundry women and booksellers worked. How they gave credit. How they managed risk. How they built trust-based financial networks without banks or contracts. He acknowledged none of this in the paper. He told himself it was because she would not understand academic acknowledgement. He told himself she would be embarrassed. He told himself these were just ideas that she sparked but he developed. He told himself many things. The truth was simpler and less comfortable. He wanted the prize to be entirely his. He wanted the glory clean and unshared. When the prize was announced, Mama Bose heard about it. Someone told her. She found Emeka the next evening, face bright with pride. They said, "You won a national prize." For a paper about market women and campus economies. Yes, Ma, Emeka said, smiling. Congratulations, my son. I'm so proud of you. You worked hard. Thank you, Ma. She hugged him. She smelled of tomatoes and palm oil and something warm and ancient. He hugged her back. But he said nothing about where the ideas came from. Nothing. Mama Bose did not ask. It did not occur to her to ask. In her mind she had simply talked. Emeka had done the work. That was how it should be. She did not think of herself as someone who contributed to a prize-winning paper. She was just an old woman who sold rice and talked too much. Emeka graduated with a first class. His name appeared in the newspapers. His parents came for the ceremony. His father wore his church suit. His mother cried from the moment they entered the hall until long after they left. It was the proudest day of the Osei family's life. Mama Bose came too. She stood at the back of the graduation hall because she had no ticket. But she stood there. She watched him collect his certificate. She watched his parents embrace him. She smiled. Then she went back to her spot and began setting up for the evening crowd. Emeka saw her standing at the back. He was going to go to her after the ceremony. To introduce her to his parents. To say something. But his course mates surrounded him. Photos, laughter, celebration. By the time everything settled, Mama Bose was gone. He told himself he would visit her the next day. He did not. He moved to Abuja 3 weeks after graduation. A job offer. A consulting firm that had seen his prize-winning paper. Starting salary was 300,000 naira a month. It was more money than his father had ever made in a year. He packed his bag and went. He left without saying goodbye to Mama Bose. Abuja agreed with Emeka. The city was clean and organized compared to Lagos. The roads were wide. The office buildings were tall. The people who mattered wore clean suits and spoke in measured tones. Emeka learned quickly to do the same. He worked for a major consulting firm for 3 years. In those 3 years he became the most talked-about analyst in the firm. He had a gift. He could look at complex social and economic data and find the human story inside it. He could walk into a community, watch how people moved, how they traded, how they trusted each other, and come back with insights that no survey could capture. His clients loved him. Ministers requested him by name. At 26 he left and co-founded his own policy think tank. He called it Osei Research Group. His 2 co-founders were Babatunde and Felix from the syndicate. Babatunde handled the tech infrastructure. Felix handled communications and media. Chidi, now a lawyer, became their legal advisor. The 4 friends were together again. And now they were building something real. Osei grew fast. By the 2nd year they had contracts with 3 state governments. By the 3rd year they were advising a federal ministry. By the 4th year Emeka Osei's face was on the cover of a major business publication. The Policy Whisperer. How a spare parts trader's son was reshaping Nigeria's economic conversation. He was 30 years old. He wore custom suits now. He lived in a 3-bedroom apartment in Maitama. He drove a used but respectable Toyota Camry that he kept immaculately clean. He was invited to panel discussions. Universities called him to deliver lectures. He spoke at events all over the country. Young people quoted his papers online. He had a girlfriend named Adiz, a finance professional, sharp and elegant. She was the kind of woman who made every room she entered look like it had been arranged around her. Life was very good. The only thing Emeka had lost was the humility of the boy on the concrete bench. It had left so gradually he had not noticed it go. Now he spoke with the authority of a man who believed his ideas were entirely original, his success entirely self-made, his rise entirely deserved. In interviews he told his story beautifully. The spare parts trader's son. The boy who came to university with nothing. The grind. The prize. The think tank. Journalists loved it. Inspirational. Authentic. Self-made. He never mentioned Mama Bose. Not once. Not in any interview, any speech, any acknowledgement. In his version of his own story she simply did not exist. Then in his 5th year running Osei something shifted. He was invited to speak at a major youth summit at his former university. The Summit on Inequality and Informal Economies. It was a prestigious event. Ministers, academics, directors of major organizations. And Emeka Osei as keynote speaker. He returned to campus for the first time in 6 years. The campus had changed, new buildings, repaved roads. But some things were the same. The Faculty of Social Sciences building. The concrete bench near the entrance where he once sat alone and hungry. And to his surprise, Mama Bose's spot. He was still there. Older. Slower. But still there. Same cooler. Same tray. Same flat sandals. She was serving a student when he walked past. He did not see him. He almost stopped. Almost went to her. But he was running late and his host was calling his phone. He kept walking. He told himself he would find her after the summit. He did not. But she found him. The summit ended with a reception. People milling around with drinks. Emeka was surrounded by professors, journalists, students with phones for photographs. Then someone touched his arm. He turned. Mama Bose. She was smiling. Her face had more lines than he remembered, but her eyes were exactly the same, steady and warm and ancient and kind. Emeka, she said. My son. Something moved in his chest. Something uncomfortable. He smiled quickly. Mama Bose. You are looking well. God is keeping me. I heard you were speaking today. I was so proud. They say you are a big man now. A policy expert. Yes, Ma. Things are going well. He glanced sideways. The minister's aide was looking at him. He needed to go. I just wanted to greet you, Mama Bose said. And to say, I heard your speech today on the radio as they were setting up. You talked about informal market networks. About how campus vendors create trust-based economies. She smiled softly. I remember when we used to talk about those things. You and I. In the evenings. Emeka's smile stayed in place. But something tightened behind his eyes. Research is research, Mama Bose. It comes from many sources. Of course, she said gently. No accusation. Just a statement. I am proud of you all the same. Then she said something that would stay with him longer than he wanted. I have been selling rice on this campus for 38 years. Many students have passed through. I have talked to many of them. But you were the one who really listened. Who wrote things down. She patted his hand. Whatever you built, it came from a good place. Do not forget the good place. He stepped back. And before he could say anything else, someone pulled him away for a group photograph. When the photograph was done, Mama Bose was gone. That night in his hotel room, Emeka could not sleep. He kept hearing her voice. Do not forget the good place. Some time later, Osei launched its most ambitious project. A book. Invisible Markets. How Nigeria's Informal Economies Work. It was published by a respected academic press and targeted at both scholars and policymakers. Emeka was sole author. The book took 18 months to write. It was brilliant. It was detailed. It traced the structures of informal economic networks across 6 Nigerian cities. The trust systems, the credit arrangements, the social contracts. It had data. It had stories. It had insight that felt lived in and not just researched. On the acknowledgements page, Emeka thanked his co-founders Babatunde, Felix, and Chidi. He thanked his professors. He thanked his parents. He thanked Adiz. He thanked God. He did not thank Mama Bose. The book was launched at a ceremony in Lagos. 500 people attended. Professors, journalists, diplomats. The keynote was given by a former finance minister. It was the biggest night of Emeka's professional life. At the reception afterward, a young journalist from a campus newspaper approached him. She was doing a feature on alumni success stories. Dr. Osei, she said, he had a doctorate now from a program at a university abroad. The themes in your book feel very personal. Very intimate. Almost like they come from direct experience and not just research. What was your source of inspiration? Years of field work, Emeka said smoothly. And a natural curiosity about how ordinary Nigerians solve extraordinary problems. Was there a specific person who shaped your thinking? A mentor. My professors were excellent. And my parents, of course. Their experiences as informal traders gave me an early understanding of these dynamics. What about on campus? The journalist pressed. She was young, but she was sharp. I am asking because I found something interesting when I was researching your background. I spoke to an older woman on campus. A food vendor. She has been there almost 40 years. Mama Bose, Bolanle Adesanya. She told me she used to talk to you every evening for years. That you would write things down in a notebook. She said she saw the title of your book and recognized many of the frameworks she had described to you, the credit networks, the trust systems. The room felt like it shifted 2 degrees. I do not know what she told you, Emeka said carefully, but academic research is a process of synthesizing many influences. I respect Mama Bose. She is a remarkable woman. But to suggest she is a co-author of academic work. I did not say co-author, the journalist said quietly. I said source of inspiration. Is there a reason she is not acknowledged? The nearby conversations had lowered. People were listening. Emeka felt heat on his collar. This is not the right venue for this conversation, he said, his voice going cold. If you would like to schedule a formal interview, she still sells rice on that campus, the journalist said. She is 71 years old. She has cataracts in her left eye. She told me she had to borrow money to pay for her granddaughter's secondary school fees. He was not complaining. She was not asking for anything. She was just talking. She seemed genuinely proud of you. That is why I am asking. Emeka stared at the young woman. Something cracked inside him. Not broke. Crack. A small precise fracture. You need to leave, he said. This is a private event. His communications manager materialized and gently guided the journalist away. The conversations around him resumed. Nobody would remember. But Emeka remembered. He stood with a glass of champagne in his hand and he remembered everything. The notebook. The evenings. Her voice. Every action is a seed. It always grows. The journalist published her story anyway. It was a campus newspaper, so most people did not see it. But a professor who read it shared it. Then an academic blogger picked it up. Then a larger platform. The piece was careful. It did not accuse. It just asked. It quoted Mama Bose describing their conversations in specific detail. Details that matched the frameworks in Emeka's book with uncomfortable precision. It quoted other vendors and students from that era who remembered seeing Emeka at Mama Bose's spot every evening for 3 years, notebook in hand. It asked why she was absent from the acknowledgments of a book that felt so much like her. The piece spread through Nigerian academic and policy circles. Comments were divided. Some said it was an unfair attack. Some said the connection was circumstantial. Some said Emeka had built on raw material and that translating a food vendor's observations into academic theory was itself a significant intellectual contribution. The debate was heated and inconclusive. But something changed in how people looked at Emeka. Not dramatically. Subtly. The way a small crack changes how you look at a wall. You know it is there now. You cannot unknow it. Then worse things happened. They always do when cracks appear. A government contract Osei had been pursuing for months. A major one to design an economic inclusion framework for 3 northern states, went to a competitor. The committee chair, Emeka heard through channels, had read the article. He was old school. Character mattered to him. He did not want controversy around such a sensitive project. Then a prominent university rescinded a fellowship offer with no explanation. But the timing spoke for itself. Then Adis left. Not because of the article, their relationship had been fraying for a long time. But when it ended in the particular way breakups end, when the person leaving has lost a certain respect for you. She said it clearly and calmly, looking him in the eyes. I think you have started to believe your own story a little too much, Emeka. And I do not think that version of you is someone I want to build a life with. He sat in his apartment after she left and the quiet was enormous. He thought about Babatunde and Felix and Chidi. The syndicate. His friends. But lately they felt like colleagues more than friends. They spoke about strategy, revenue, positioning. When had the friendship become just business? When had he stopped being someone who could call Chidi at midnight just to talk? He thought about his parents in Onitsha. He had not been home in nearly a year. He had been busy. Always busy. And he thought about Mama Bose. 71. Cataracts. Borrowed money for school fees. Still at her spot. Still feeding students. And somewhere in her, he now realized, a quiet wound she had never shown him. Not accusation. Just the quiet ache of being forgotten by someone you invested in. He opened his laptop. He opened the acknowledgments page of his book and read it again. Every name. Every institution. Then he sat back in his chair and asked himself honestly for the first time whether this book would exist without those evenings. Without her voice. Without his notebook filling up with her wisdom rephrased in his language. The honest answer was probably not. Not like this. Not with this particular soul in it. He closed the laptop. He put his face in his hands. And for the first time in years since the boy on the concrete bench, he cried. Getting back to the university took 3 weeks of internal argument. Every morning he would think today. Today he would go. Then something would come up. A meeting. A deadline. The avoidance dressed itself in busyness and looked almost identical to it. But eventually he went. It was a Thursday afternoon. He drove himself, no driver, no suit, just a simple shirt and trousers. He parked outside the Faculty of Social Sciences. He walked the familiar path. The same cracked concrete. The same old trees. The bench where he once sat alone and hungry was still there. Someone had painted it green. He found Mama Bose at her spot. She was slower than he remembered. She moved between her cooler and her tray with careful deliberateness, like someone who had learned to ration energy. Her left eye was slightly clouded. The cataract. She looked up and saw him. For a moment neither of them spoke. Then Mama Bose said simply, "Emeka, sit down." He sat. He opened his mouth to begin the speech he had prepared. She held up one hand. "Before you say anything," she said, "let me tell you something. That journalist who came to see me, I did not go looking for her. She found me. I did not say anything to hurt you. I was just talking the way I always talk. I did not know she would write it." "I know, Mama Bose," Emeka said. "I know. I am sorry if it caused you trouble." That broke him. She was apologizing. To him. "No," he said, and his voice was unsteady. "No, Mama. Please. I am the one who needs to apologize. I came here to apologize. And to tell the truth. About everything." He told her. He told her about the notebook. How much of it was her words, her observations, her years of watching that campus. How her insights shaped his award-winning paper, shaped his think tank's early frameworks, shaped the core of his book. He told her he had known it all along and chosen not to say it. Not because he thought she would not understand, but because he wanted the glory clean. "That was wrong," he said. "It was theft, Mama Bose. Not legal theft. But moral theft. And I am sorry. I am deeply, truly sorry." Mama Bose listened to all of it. Her expression did not become angry. Did not become vindicated. It remained what it always was, steady, measuring, kind. When he finished she was quiet for a long moment. She served a student who approached, took the money, said "God bless you" automatically. Then she turned back to him. "Do you remember," she said slowly, "what I told you about seeds?" "Yes," he said. "Every action is a seed. Good seeds and bad seeds. Both grow. The bad seeds you planted, the forgetting, the denying, they grew. You see that now. You are sitting in their shadow." She looked at him steadily. "But the good seed is still there too. The boy who used to sit here and listen. Who wrote things down not because he was told to but because something in him recognized value. That boy has not died. He just got buried under too much success." "Can I fix it?" he asked. "Is it too late?" "It is never too late to do what is right," Mama Bose said. "But doing right is not the same as undoing wrong. You understand? You cannot take back what happened. You can only choose what happens next." What happened next surprised even Emeka. He went back to his publisher. He requested a revision of the acknowledgments for all future printings of Invisible Markets. He wrote a new acknowledgment, 3 paragraphs long, that named Bolanle Adesanya specifically. That described precisely the nature of her contribution, 38 years of observation distilled into evening conversations that shaped the intellectual foundation of the work. He did not sanitize it or minimize it. He wrote the truth. The publisher was surprised but agreed. The revision was announced publicly. Emeka wrote about it himself on his professional platform in a long honest piece called "What I Owe and to Whom." He did not frame it as damage control. He framed it as accounting. As reckoning. The response was complicated. Some people respected it enormously. Some were skeptical, too little too late, career management. The debate did not resolve. But Emeka had not done it for the response. He had done it because it was the only honest thing left to do. He also set up a fund. Not a foundation. He was done with grand names. A fund. Small. It paid for the cataract surgery Mama Bose needed. It paid for her granddaughter's university fees. It ensured she had a monthly income supplement so that when she finally decided she was too old for the cooler and the tray she would not be stranded. Mama Bose accepted the surgery. She refused the monthly supplement at first. "I am not a charity case," she said firmly. "No," Emeka agreed. You are an uncredited collaborator. This is a delayed payment. Not charity. Not pity. Payment. She thought about it for a long time. Then she accepted. Sometime after he returned to that campus, Emeka Osei launched something new. Not a book. Not a think tank project. A program. He called it the Invisible Markets Fellowship, a fully funded research grant for young Nigerians who wanted to study informal economies from the inside. Not from offices and surveys but from the ground. Living inside the communities they studied. Listening. The program's founding document opened with this paragraph. This fellowship exists because of a woman named Bolanle Adesanya, who sold jollof rice on the University of Lagos campus for 38 years and watched one of Africa's most complex informal economic networks operate in front of her every single day. She never published a paper. She never attended a conference. But she understood things that most economists spend careers trying to understand. This program is built on the conviction that knowledge lives in people who are never asked to share it, and that it is the researcher's responsibility to go and listen. Mama Bose attended the launch. She sat in the front row. She wore a blue dress, the same color as the one she wore the first night she fed him. He did not know if that was intentional. He thought it might be. When he introduced her to the audience, academics, government officials, young researchers, he said simply, "This is Mama Bose. Without her none of my work would be what it is. And without her I would not be who I am trying to become." The audience clapped. Mama Bose looked both proud and slightly embarrassed, the way people do when they have been seen properly for the first time in a long time. After the launch they sat together, just the two of them, at a quiet corner table while the others networked and took photographs. She had a plate of food. He had a glass of water. It felt exactly like the evenings at her spot. "Are you happy?" she asked him. He considered it honestly. "I am more honest than I have ever been," he said. "And I think that is the closest I have come to happy in years." "Honesty is uncomfortable," Mama Bose said. "Very. But it is clean. Like a washed cup." She smiled. "A dirty cup can still hold water. But the water tastes wrong. You know." He laughed. Real laugh. The kind he had forgotten how to make for a while. "I wrote that down," he said. "I still write things down." "Good," she said. "This time put my name on them." Babatunde, Felix and Chidi came back properly too. Not because anything dramatic happened but because Emeka reached out. He called Chidi on a random Tuesday night just to talk like they used to in university. Chidi answered on the second ring as if he had been waiting. They talked until 1 in the morning about nothing important and everything important. Things were still rebuilding. But they were rebuilding. He also went home to Onitsha. He spent 2 weeks with his parents. He sat in his father's spare parts shop and watched how his father talked to customers, the credit arrangements, the trust networks, the handshake deals. He took notes. He called the chapter he eventually wrote from that visit "Where I Actually Come From." His mother fed him every night until he begged her to stop. She did not stop.